Today I'm going to tell you the story about how I not only got to the top 100 of the new hunting skill in Hypixel Skyblock, I made over 1 billion coins along the way, and got over 20 million hunting XP already. Every skill has a different story to tell, and this is the story about how people managed to get into the top 100 on hunting. We'll have to start at the very beginning, late June, the first day of the foraging update. The first couple days of the foraging update, I didn't do any hunting at all. The idea of hunting around Galatea just didn't seem interesting to me, until I found out there was more to the update. But it took me a couple days to realize, and that put me way behind. Went through the basic quest line, did some foraging, and then a couple days later, I dipped my toes into hunting a little bit. I just started this, and I'm already level 13. During the quest line, you'll talk to this guy named Odin, and he teaches you how to use this black hole. I thought that this was just one of the different items to use on Galatea. But I was wrong. There's also this thing called a hunt axe. The important thing about a hunt axe is that the hunt axe cannot cause a fatal blow. That is very important, as the black holes need to have the mob at low HP. Now, I thought that the black hole was for combat mobs like chill shots and chill blades. Now, it doesn't work on every mob, but if specific mobs, you can go ahead and hit into the black hole, it'll absorb it, and it'll give you their shard. These shards are important because of the new attribute system. Now, let's say you take one of these shards, and you can go ahead and click on one that's not maxed, and you can level up your attribute. Now, why else would you want these shards? Well, you can combine shards with specific other shards, and this applies to any shard in the game, and it will give you an option of, you can take, depending on the type, you can take 2 or 5, and combine up to 10 per to create a different combination. Now, the thing that most people didn't realize immediately is that besides a couple of these, you can actually use other attributes, fuse into all of these attributes. So you could take 2 attributes and make a golden ghoul, for example, but you can also farm golden ghouls. Now, the interesting thing is, I thought at first that this was just on Galatea, and I mean, I don't want to go and farm these chill shots that don't spawn very often. There's like 3 spawns. This kind of thing didn't seem appealing to me, until I found out that it's actually mobs that are not on the Galatea Island. Then it opened up a whole new world of possibilities. Inside your hunting skill, there's a thing called the hunting box. This is where all of your attributes are stored. The thing is, you can take attributes out of here. For example, this power dragon, I can take out of here. Now it's in my inventory. I can then sell that on the bazaar for bunches of money. Now, the first couple days of any update are going to be very profitable for these newer items. But oh goodness, some of these shards are still making insane profit. For example, this was released in June. At the end of August, this still sells for 700k almost insta-sell. I just made 700k right there. Yes, that is a legendary shard that is hard to obtain, but that's still 600k, and that one you can actually just trap, so that's a whole different story. Take these traps and place them down anywhere, including outside of Galatea, and they will actually capture specific other creatures. Now, even if a couple items are added, those items are very profitable. The thing is, what happens whenever you add 176 different items? Well, that's very hard for the community to drain immediately. So for the first 2 weeks, these were insanely profitable. So much so that ones that sell for... Wow, this has dropped more than I thought. Ones that sell for 6k were selling for hundreds of thousands. This one was about 200,000 during the first couple weeks. And with so many shards added at once, some of them had to be profitable for a longer time than most, eh? You can take basically any shard in here and combine them with other ones to make different shards, and that's the important part. Because it doesn't tell you exactly how to get specific ones. Let's take the zombie soldier shard, for example, which it says can only be obtained by killing things in dungeons. But if you take an obsidian defender and craft it with a lapis zombie, it doesn't tell you that it can be crafted, but it definitely can. Use 5 of each and you can craft your own. So then you don't have to use salts, which at max level gives only a 1% chance of dropping this shard if you kill the mob. Instead, you can just craft it up using black hole shards. So each of the different tools capture it at a very different pace. So for example, the fishing net, you have to do it multiple times on the same enemy, while you have to have fishing stuff for your drown without drowning and all that, and they move around. It's very tedious and annoying. Lasso, for example, goes in many stages that you have to click at a specific time 5 times on some mobs, and it's just tedious unless you have a better lasso. But even then, it's not nearly as efficient as the black hole. Now, I have the best black hole in the game currently as the medium, which I assume that they'll be adding a large variant in the next island of the forging update. The black hole mixed with the hunt axe, meaning that I can't kill the mobs, is the way that my plan comes together. So you might be asking the same question I was asking back then. What kind of shards can I use to farm very quickly that gets me a lot of money that not many people know about? After a couple days of research, we found a few very good ones. The prices did fluctuate quite a bit, but we found a couple consistent money makers, and here is how you make them. So each shard has its own rarity. It's the basic rarities of common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. The legendary shards are not what we're going to be looking at. You'd think that because the legendary shards give the most XP, that those would be the ones you'd want to do. The problem is they spawn so infrequently, and basically none of them are able to be captured by the black hole. So the issue is they're slow to capture, they're slow to spawn, and it is a process to deal with. So the fastest way of earning XP isn't actually legendary shards. There's 2 options whenever you're wanting to get XP. Epics or rares. If you're specifically talking XP, these ghosts are purple, aka epic, and these epic shards, very good for XP. In fact, the top people usually do farm ghosts. The problem with ghosts is that every late game player that had a full-on ghost setup was finally like, yes, I can actually make profit from these hundreds of millions of coins that I spent. So they all rushed over and completely drained the market. They sell for 14K, completely awful. I have checked myself to see if it is worth even investing in ghosts, and it literally isn't, because if you combine this with anything, it gets you another shard that sells for like 20K if you spend like 10 of them or something. It's all around completely awful money-wise to farm ghosts. This is just to get you a little bit of profit if you are going for it. And you can see by this screenshot that I got of a video from a ghost farmer that, my goodness, they were completely being drained on price. Now, 4 XP per black hole, ghosts are probably the best in the entire game. Now for money with XP, this is my secret weapon. Glacial Walkers. They're only rare, they're 1 step down, and with max upgrades I believe they give like 600 XP. The legendary shards give about 1,000. These guys give only like 300. But there are so many that spawn that it is absolutely no issue to fill up 1 or multiple black holes, but we will get to the multiple. The thing is, there are so many spawns here that you can easily fill up your black hole constantly with these guys, and it is so efficient. Now, the problem with ghosts, and why I haven't really tried too much out, is that in order to get into ghost grinding, you literally have to spend hundreds of millions of coins, and it is just not worth it in any way. Unless you're going for a high spawn hunting. But even then, I just farming a rare shard got up to the top 100, so I don't think ghosts are necessarily needed. And goodness, these guys are my secret weapon. I farmed tens of thousands of glacial shards for one reason and one reason only. Whenever you combine shards, they need specific rarity. And a lot of the good shards that are easy to farm require rare or above. These guys are rare and they're super easy to get. So a lot of people will farm glacites. The thing is, if you combine glaciite with glaciite for a total of 10 shards, that makes the drowned. That got drained pretty quickly, but this isn't the end of my secrets. There's 2 different types that you can farm here. Miner zombies and lapis zombies. These guys right here, I farmed tens of thousands of these guys as well. Because these guys are my secret weapon that not many people knew about. One good fusion, which we mentioned before, is the Obsidian Defender mixed with Lapis Zombie makes the Zombie Soldier. This was selling for about 500k per in the early days, which is now selling for 13k, so it's definitely not worth going for right now. 500 or 600k is very good, but the thing is that Obsidian Defenders are pretty slow to farm. They're very tedious to farm. So, my main secret was this. Glacial Walker with Lapis Zombie makes Lapis Skeletons and Flashes. Lapis Skeletons, on the other hand, are my babies! While they only make 45k in late August, goodness, they made about 300,000 per insta-sell for the first few weeks, and it is so easy to farm. So, I got to farming a bunch of Glacial Walkers and Lapis Zombies in order to make Lapis Skeletons, which underrated as it is, most shards give only 1 whenever you combine 5 and 5. This one gives 2, which literally just doubles your profits. So for like 2 weeks straight, I was going crazy with this. And now, we get to the main reason that I was able to only use rare shards, but get up to the top 100. Loot share. Because you see, as long as you damage the mob, it applies loot share whenever anyone absorbs into their black hole. But if you have multiple black holes around, all getting loot shared, all of a sudden you're getting a bunch of shards. But not only that, what nobody seemed to realize is, if you have 2 people using a black hole, you both get the XP. The loot share from the other person's black hole, if you've gotten the loot share, also gives you the same amount as a rare shard. So if one person is farming ghosts, even at max efficiency, they're only getting about 600 XP per absorb. But if you have 2 people doing glacites, you're getting 800 per absorb. So we pushed this to the limit. During the first few weeks, I took advantage of the fact that this was very much in the meta to do because everyone wanted to do tons of attributes. So you could get easily a consistent 4 people in one lobby, and all of that would be loot shared. By the 5th person, it starts to deactivate the loot share because it doesn't want to make servers too laggy, but you could get up to 4 people constantly getting this loot share. So I had up to 3 people at times farming at once, but me and Matt were constantly farming at the same time, getting loot share, and that loot share activates the shard and the XP, so you're literally not punished at all for doing loot share. And it is so efficient. During these weeks of farming, we found out a few things that you can do to really increase your efficiency doing this. Step 1 would be making sure that you get the loot share. So, the best way to do that would be to use Frozen Blaze Armor. As you're running around hitting mobs, this would be making sure that in a 5-block radius, every second, that's doing damage to the mob. And if it's doing damage to the mob, that means that you are guaranteed that mob's loot share if it gets absorbed by a black hole. So for this strat, Blaze Armor was absolutely needed. Now, with the Blaze Armor, you absolutely need the Hunt Axe. Now, the important thing about the Blaze Armor is that it is doing damage to them. So if they're at 1 HP, you can't kill them or else they won't go into the black hole. If you're holding the Hunt Axe out, though, it does the ticking damage of the Frozen Blaze Armor, but it doesn't kill them because you have this in your hand. So this is just so many levels of broken because you can't kill the mob if you have this in your hand. So this makes sure you get the actual loot share. So that's the armor out of the way. What else would you need? You need to place down the black hole, which the medium black hole is super important. Because not only does it have the ability to absorb mobs that are above 1 HP, it's up to 10% of their HP left, and they can still be absorbed into a shard. But it grants a 10% chance to gain a second shard from the monster. Now, that might not seem super overpowered yet, but I haven't talked about step 3. There's this stat in the gathering stats called Hunter Fortune. Hunting Fortune gives you a direct chance to get more shards. Now, the things you need to care about whenever you're farming would be getting the loot share so that you get the other person's Hunting Fortune applied to you whenever you get their shard. So that means that you are guaranteed to get shards from other loot shares. Step 2, you would need to have a lot of Hunter Fortune so that whenever you get that shard, you get a lot. Now, you need to increase your Hunter Fortune as much as possible. In the foraging update, the only reason I ever did foraging was to get to Heart of the Forest 6 to unlock this, which is a perk that you can use to get 50 Hunting Fortune. Now, there is only a certain amount of Hunting Fortune that you can get, mainly from that and the David's Cloak, which, if upgraded to Mythic, you can get up to 28 more Hunter Fortune from that. The other amounts will come from getting to Hunting 25, which gives you 1 Hunter Fortune per, so that's another 25 there. Now, the David's Cloak is very important for it, because it gives you Hunter Fortune. Now, in order to get all of the Hunting Fortune from this, you would have to max basically every attribute, I believe, which would mean that you'd have to spend billions of coins in order to max it out. So, I got all the way up to level 28 out of 30, so I am exactly 2 Hunting Fortune away from max there, as well as that I don't have this talisman that literally cost hundreds of millions of coins. So I'm missing like 3 or 4 from that one, and 2 from the David's Cloak. I believe that I am exactly 5 hunting fortune off from the absolute max of 116. Now, in order to get the maximum amount out of your hunting, you would have to actually max out a couple attributes, including but not limited to the Sea Serpent, the Lizard King, the Newt, King Cobra, the Python, the Megalith, and the Tiamat. I guess the Wyvern too. At the time of me purchasing all of those, costed me hundreds of millions of coins, but made me a lot more profit in the end. Most importantly is the King Cobra and the Python, which are overpowered as anything. 10% hunter fortune is insane, specifically from black holes. Again, another reason why black holes are just superior. But the leatherback is so good because it is, I believe, the only way to get more hunting wisdom, which that gets me up to 38 hunting wisdom. So that is very important. And besides that, it's just brute force. Now, if I wanted to specifically go for XP, I would just farm either ghosts or Glacial Walkers, because the Lapis zombies are common and they give less XP. But I chose money over making sure that I got to like the top 50 or something of the hunting skill. And I made a lot of money. Now with 116 hunter fortune, I get 100% of the time double drops, but I have a 16% chance to get triple, which is already insane. But I bet you forgot about the black hole. You get a 10% chance to get a second shard for the monster. That includes hunting fortune. So instead of 3, I have a chance to get 6 shards from 1 black hole absorb. And that's not including if the other person also has that. So I have a chance to get at least 6 shards from each black hole with the amount of hunter fortune. And that is why you need to go for so much. Because even though the prices over the last few weeks have been dropping so much, it doesn't matter because I'm getting so many more shards that I'm basically making the same amount. With this setup, even in August, about 30 to 50 mil per hour. It was like 50 to 70 mil in the first couple weeks, so we took advantage of that. But 30 mil even nowadays is nothing to scoff at because it is insane amounts of money that you're making if you know how to actually get good attributes that a lot of people want. So we went for the brute force of it. I have over a hot bar full of lapis skeletons. I literally just drove the lapis skeleton price from 175k down to 60k. Single-handedly. So I'm gonna save the rest and I'm gonna sell them tomorrow. And when I tell you that we pushed hard on this money-making method, so much so I wasn't even going for XP. I just happened to get to near the top 300. And I'm just like, it's so many levels of insane at that point that I just kept making money. And once the lapis skeletons dried up, Flash just started to make a lot of money, and I got to around the top 100, and it just kept going. And we went crazy with this. Mad props to Matt because he stuck with it, and he went crazy too. And us loot sharing these, it made us so much profit. And both me and him made this amount, and he made over $1 billion as well. Like, it is so many levels of insane money that we made with this. And let's get to some of the stats, shall we? And with all that being out of the way, it's time to show you how much money I made from this. Just from attributes alone, I farmed so much. Not only did I get in the top 100, I got 1.6 billion coins. Liquid coins I could put whatever I want into. And you know what? Did you think I was going to make a smart financial decision? I can put my money into whatever I want. I guess you could say I have free will. I farmed a total of 20 million, almost 21 million of hunting XP. Got into the top 80 at one point. I think the top I saw was 80. and I kind of stopped, so now I'm below 80s. But 20 mil XP, 1.6 billion coins. I'm very happy with this update, and I was not expecting to make nearly this much, but this is just Island 1. Now I can go and finish up some more foraging and see what Island 2 has to offer, but goodness, I am happy with the amount of money I've made from this. Now recently, let's talk about the update. August 5th, a little detail in the patch notes is you no longer get hunting XP for loot sharing. Meaning that people that started hunting before are now super far ahead. While I disagree with the implementation after it's already been, you know, a thing, goodness, that means that it's now even harder to get high hunting levels, but I've basically been secured in my placements. I don't think that I'll be below the top 1,000 on hunting for a long time, and someone would have to farm a lot of ghosts in order to catch up to me, because now I guess ghost farming is the only way to make good XP. But I've made my XP from loot sharing, and now I can just sit back and passively get XP now. Now that my loot share XP is now gone, and I don't really have a ton of reasons to continue going crazy with hunting, besides money, I suppose that now I'll just take my 1.6 billion and continue on. That's the story about how I managed to get into the top 100 on hunting. And out of 10 skills that affect your skill average in Skyblock, I'm in the top of one of them. Let's go, baby! And I started Skyblock 4 years later. With this chapter of the story told, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please consider leaving a like, and I will see you in my next video.